back of the pack ultra guy here. I know I say this all the time, but I am very excited about this one. I've known Charlene for quite some time. Uh, we met, I don't even remember what year it was,
2019.
2019. Good job. At the Mogollon Monster, and this is how old we are. It was the 105K before they got rid of the 105K. That was some time ago, and I've seen Charlene at races since, and we actually did Sedona Canyons together and went through the race for quite some time together, and we'll talk about that. But I'm really excited to introduce Charlene Howard. Charlene, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how you found running and ultimately found your way into ultra.
Sure. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, although I've lived in the DC area now for 24 years, which is probably the longest I've ever lived somewhere. And then between here and there, I lived in Arizona for 5 years. I came out there for grad school, and I still really like it. But long story, but got a job in Europe. Wasn't worked out. Didn't It wasn't sold how it was supposed to be. So moved back to the DC area because it was familiar. I had lived here a year after college. And as far as running, I really kind of hated running. I didn't have, I grew up riding horses. And then in middle school, I started playing field hockey, and I was decent at field hockey, but I hated running. And I was slow. So I was playing defense, but that was kind of my jam anyway. And then, I got cut from the high school team because Pennsylvania field hockey is pretty cutthroat, and I was slow, so I got cut, dropped out of all my sports, all of my activities, just became a student loner, and didn't start doing anything again until after grad school. Actually, started playing field hockey again. Actually, did a little bit of running, but nothing. I would say it was more for like the sport and not for running's sake until 2006, I think. I was already back here living in DC, and one of my coworkers and I decided to. He had done marathon training programs before, and me and him signed up for the AIDS marathon training program, and we did all the training together. We fundraised together. We baked cookies for our donors together. It was kind of fun. And so I did, that was like my first foray into like actual like running, and did some marathons for a while. And I'm trying to think, probably I started just kind of like screwing around on local trails near me. I'm a geographer by trade, so I'm very spatially aware, I guess, and I just like to kind of make my own routes and like go look and try to figure out where to go and how to get there. So I just started like doing trails around here, and then I don't even remember how, but I just started kind of going longer and longer outside of, still was like doing like the marathon thing, but I really liked being on trail. So in 2013, I did my first ultra that was a 12-hour race. So that's how I got the distance. And it was 4 loops to get a marathon. So, and then there was a fifth loop. And actually, my husband and my brother both did the race, and that was like their only marathons, probably I think to this date. But I'm like, let's go out for one more loop. We can get that ultra. And they're like, no. So it was me and another guy that went out there for the last loop, and we suffered together, and that was it. And then the next spring, I did like we have this thing called the Seneca Greenway Trail marathon and 50K. And at that time, it was a point to point race, and the marathon was 30 miles and the 50K was 34. So that was my first like real distance that wasn't, it was still like an ish, ultra ish.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and I just kind of like being out in the woods. Don't mind being by myself. Always like to try to like find new routes. So I got really into just like finding the local trails around here, kind of spreading out more and more. We have a lot of paved trails in my neighborhood, so it's easy for me to like get to work from here, on foot, by bike, easy. But getting to trails, we have Rock Creek Park, which is kind of like the home base. But if you want to go like exploring, you got to go probably almost an hour out of the town. So it's not like, just rolling out to, Mesa
Yeah.
or Camelback or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of just yeah, it's kind of what I do. I'm just a big consistency person. I'm more into just doing something every day than having it be epic, I guess. So, but I guess I would say I used to do more races. I'm more selective in my races now, and I like run ventures. So I'll just kind of stop that intro part because I think it's kind of diving into, not intro anymore.
Yeah. Well, no, that's perfect. It's perfect segue. So that's really cool. So that this bonus loop at this trail marathon, it was you and one other person that decided to do it?
It was in like the little group that I was with.
Oh,
There was
okay.
probably like, I think there was probably like a few dozen. It was a very small race. It's like German themed races, which is kind of cool because our awards were like little like cuckoo clock type things.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
yeah, and there's a guy playing accordion, so it's the Uber Endurance series in the Philadelphia area, which is just pretty great. So yeah, it was just, but it was me and this because we were kind of like in the same like pack running, and I think his name was Mike, and he's like, "Are you gonna go back out?" I was like, "Yeah." And so it was just us, and it was funny because we both came in, and then they're like, "Oh, you're third female," and I was like, "What?" Because again, very small race, so that was pretty cool too, and it was just nice to get that milestone because it was it was something that I was interested in, but it wasn't like the primary goal. It was just to kind of like see how far we get. But there's people there that went to the race and then like their kid had some sort of ER visit and they came back and like they still finished some laps. So it's kind of like,
Wow.
I mean, and that was just kind of like, okay, these are like, serious people, but, not too serious, I guess. But yeah,
So
it was fun.
what I know you touched a little bit on you like being outside, you like spending that time alone, which is a unique trait and a good one because I've noticed that there are some people that I've associated with in the run community that seem to have a hard time running by themselves, especially on the trails. And
Hmm.
I think that that can be a disadvantage because if you're gearing up for a larger race or, trying to increase your speed or whatever it is, you're not always going to have that, run buddy or gym
Yeah.
buddy to be out there. So I think that's a really admirable trait. I find
Yeah. And
myself
it's,
kind of being like, if I had someone to go with today, it might be easier to get out.
yeah, and like I'm glad that I don't need that motivation, like, because the only like the first marathon training I did was like we were a unit. Like every Saturday, like went and did that long run, and but that was like the only like group runs that I've really did. Now like I'm part of the VHTRC, Virginia Happy Trails Running Club, and like we there's organized things all the time, but it's not something that I participate in like regularly. We have a Sundays in the park early morning, and 8 o'clock's not early, but for what I usually how my Sunday unravels, like I usually don't get there, but um, it's nice to have that if you need it or want it. But yeah, in my case, I just like I usually go out with my partner or something like that's mostly that's my running partner. Um, but most of the time, like during the days, I'm just out there. I don't dislike company really because like especially in our fat ass events, like you're always just kind of like you run into somebody and like me and you, like you run into people on the trail and you just kind of hang out and you just kill the time and shoot the breeze, and it's really good. And then if you there's sometimes like I'm just don't want to be bothered, but most of the time it's nice. And it's funny because I'm a very introverted person. I'm a behind the scenes person and in my work and just life in general. But like I'll talk to any rando on the trail, or like I'll be walking down the street and I'll like compliment somebody on something like, "Hey, I like your shoes," and they'll look at me like. And it's funny because like when I moved to Arizona, because like DC, East Coast city, kind of like and I'm from Pennsylvania in the Philadelphia area, and like we have a reputation of for being maybe not as polite as, some people, or, direct. I'm always accused of like, being intimidating, but I'm just telling you something, and I'm not telling you with judgment. But when I moved to Arizona, we were in Tempe, and somebody's like, "Have a nice day" in the supermarket. I'm like, "What the hell's that? Like, what do you mean by that?" And it took me a while, like, okay, people are just really nice. So
Yeah,
I try to like, pass. I took some good traits from living out west. Like, I'm not as uptight as a local DC person. And I just try to like, see the best in people and not be super suspicious, even though I still can't leave my water bottle on my bike when I leave because you don't know what's going to happen. But
it's true.
some habits die hard, but I try.
It's funny how each part of the world, and you zoom in, or even in America, in the United States, how there's different ways of carrying yourself. When my
Mm,
wife and I went to Ukraine, another couple who had just come back from Ukraine was like, "Oh no, nobody smiles," and when you're passing each other,
right.
everyone's very stoic. And I'm so ignorant. I'm just like, really? And then we got there, and I'm walking around like this, saying hi to people, and they were just like looking at me like, who is this weird
Yeah.
person? You're not supposed to smile. And I was shocked and taken back. And I've noticed that I have a lot of coworkers and people I've associated with over the years from the East Coast, and it is a little bit different.
Hmm.
But I've I've never minded the directness of people, especially in work, being very direct and not just shooting the breeze and beating around the bush. It's very direct communication, and
If
it's
you
kind of
were,
nice.
yeah, like, and I really value that, and I tell that to like the people I work with. I'm like, you should just, if you want something, say something. I can't help you if I don't know. And yeah, it's funny because even here in this area, it's very different as to like where you are, as to whether people like acknowledge you. Like my local trails, everybody's pretty nice, but I'll go to different parts of town, and it just it was a lot more like buttoned up.
Mm,
So I appreciate where I live, and just like I try to be that person that like says hello, good morning. And for the people I don't necessarily want to draw myself attention towards, I just kind of like give the don't just don't, you know, F with me.
yeah.
Because we have that too.
Well, it's funny you say this and you present yourself in that way, because if you would never have told me that, having known you this many years and just visiting, I'd been like, she's fantastic. We just chatted, we're chatting, and then someone who knew you for work is like, are we talking about the same person? But the
Yeah, it's
trail
funny
kind of
because
does
like
that to people,
yeah, exactly. And I think it's definitely like an environment thing, because like if I'm doing something, like I'll be doing it. If somebody wants to like interrupt me, that's fine. Don't like come creeping in like, "Hey, can I ask you?" Like, just like come at me. So,
Be direct.
I don't know.
Well, this is cool because 2013, the ultra scene was pretty young. And I know that John. He's another
Mhm.
guest of mine I had on. We were
Yeah.
talking about the same thing on how the sport has kind of changed. The core group of people is, the ultra community still feels very tight knit, and the people
Yeah.
are still great. But the sport is definitely evolving. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just evolving and it's
It's
changing.
different.
But
Yeah.
2013 is pretty young in the ultra world.
And I don't
Um,
even feel like it's that. Like, I'm just like, wow, I've only been doing this for like, 10-ish years, but I guess it is kind of a long time. It just
yeah,
doesn't really occur to me that it's like that's what I've been doing. I guess I'm more like once I f- I think I did a 6-hour race in 2017, and a friend of mine was like, "Oh yeah, you should come to this." And I think it was a 24-hour race, and he's like, "Yeah, you should come to this like party." It was for the Patapsco Trail Junkies, a Baltimore-based running ragtag group, and awesome, awesome people. And I went there, and that's when I got introduced into the happy trails. And That's when I really felt like, oh, okay, maybe I'm like part of this thing. 'Cause it was like a more established club. And then I just started doing the races. And I apparently started with like, the hardest races like that we put on. But I feel pretty good about like, finishing all the stuff I want to do that year. And, the rest has been like, you know, um, but yeah, it's just that was only in 2018, so that's 7 years, so it just still seems like so far away. But then I know people, you've probably, if you haven't met, you've probably heard of Mr. Tom Green. He is the first Grand Slam finisher, and
Oh, I didn't
he's
know
from
that.
this area. He's from Colombia, but he's like, he's been doing it since the 80s. So like to me,
Yeah.
he's the OG, and he's also a fantastic dog sitter too, I will say. But yeah, but I mean, he's kind of like inspirational to me and to a lot of people. But I just, yeah, I consider us like newbies, even though like I guess we are kind of like, middle middle of the pack ultra longevity people. I don't know to like try to put a label
Middle
on it.
middle-aged ultra people.
Well, that too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, by
It's not
age
easy being.
and by when we started.
Yeah, yeah, it's another thing. Like over 50 is a completely different story, and a completely different story as a female. So yeah, we can maybe get into that later, but
Yeah. Well, I can't relate on that level, but the age, yes, I've noticed it
yeah,
just slowly changes.
yeah,
Mindset changes,
yeah,
training
absolutely.
schedules change, all that.
Hmm.
It just kind of gets mixed up. And John and I actually visited about that on the last podcast of like, there's this initial motivation and like energy when you start in the sport, and then it slowly dies out. At least for me, it did. And then it becomes, like you alluded to earlier, this consistency becomes this discipline thing where you're like, oh, I just have to do it now. I don't feel
Hmm.
like doing it, but this is what I
Yeah.
do now. But versus that energy is not there kind of pushing you, that new energy is not really pushing you. At least that's how it has been for me. I don't know if you've felt similar.
Yeah, I think like when I did first started getting wrapped up in happy trails, it was like everybody's like, talking about doing like all these big distances, and like I never thought I'd even like attempt, 100 miles, let alone 100K or whatever. And, you kind of get like wrapped up in that. And then, sometimes you think that your identity is wrapped up in what you do. And I think like as I get older, and also as just like I change, and like my abilities change. It's like you kind of readjust how you think, or like I alluded to, like like I was like 50s, I don't care anymore. I don't give a flying, whatever, about a lot of things, and this is one of them. Do I still want to try to perform as well as I can? Yeah. Have I definitely changed what that means? Definitely. So yeah, I think there is a little bit of that. Like I've always been a pretty consistent person. Like, I definitely have gone through times where it's like, I don't really feel like doing this every day. And but it's not, I think it's more tied to just like accepting like it's okay if you don't do something. It's okay if you don't do this, or you don't sign up for that because maybe that's not really what to do. Like I've been not pushed into things, but like I've felt like I should be interested in this, so I sign up for something even though it's like, well, I really didn't want to, but I feel like I should have wanted to, so I did, and heart's not in it. Like I don't always finish races, but there's rarely ones that I'm just like, I'm just not into it anymore. It's like I feel if you're gonna like sign up for something, like sign up because you really want to, and not because you think you should want to. So I think that's getting a little bit better for me to like reconcile that in my, in the past couple of years. And even like a few years ago, like I went through this whole like crisis of confidence thing, and that was really hard. And I think, doing more reading and reflecting, that was definitely related to like my, like the big change in life, so to speak. So that was something that totally hit me out of the blue. So that was a definite change in how I thought about this whole, like what we do as far as like being runners or ultra runners, or, you know, um, so I got over it, which is good. But
Yeah,
kind of came out this side.
something you touched on, I think, is interesting because when you get started, you had mentioned that when you got involved with these running groups, everyone's throwing around these distances. Oh, I'm training for this 100 miler. I'm
Yeah.
training for this 100K. I'm training for this 100 miler. And you start to kind of, it starts to normalize in your mind. At least for me, it did, where I was like, yeah, this is what we do. You know, so and
Hmm.
so's he just did a 50 miler and now he's doing a 100 miler. I guess that's what we do.
Hmm.
You know, oh, I met so and so and they're going to do Cocodona. When do I fit that into the schedule? But sometimes it's
Yeah.
like, am I doing this because it's what I think the crowd is doing, or am I doing this because I really feel like it's something I want to do? I know I've
Exactly.
I've felt that before.
Yeah.
You know, Arizona Monster rolls around, and all the people I know are signing up, and hey, can you pace and can you help crew? And I'm like, you get that FOMO on me almost, where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, how come I'm not doing the Arizona Monster? You know, how come I'm not doing, the Bigfoot 200?
Yeah.
And then, so I think for newer people, that's a good thing to point out is when you get involved in all this, you know, this is a weird thing. People are talking about doing these in crazy races, so don't feel like it's like I have to do these larger ones right off the bat, or I have
Yeah.
to follow in a particular footstep of someone else because that's the way it is. Oh,
Yeah.
this is the
100%.
trajectory.
Yeah. No.
Follow your own path.
Exactly. And that's why like a couple years ago, I got more into just doing like run ventures, like again, because I like to put things together. Like during COVID, I designed like a 100-mile course that like went from my front door like all the way around, again, like connecting paved trails and non-paved trails and doing lots of loops, and it was really fun. And honestly, that was the only thing, and I did it as part of like the Yeti like virtual 100,
Mm,
so it did have like did have a time limit that I, respected, but that is the only thing that I've ever finished in that distance because all my other races, yeah, all the other hundreds that I've tried was like 4 or 5 now, the big DNF. So, I mean, at first I was like, I'm never trying this again. And then like now it's more like, I'm going to do stuff that inspires me or motivates me or that I want to do and not just because somebody's doing it. So that's why, Sedona Canyons again next year. Give it another go. So, but it's like it needs to be something like that. So there's like I only have a few races of that distance that are on my short list that I will, attempt until something else like comes and piques my interest. But I have a couple other things up my sleeve as far as like just doing point to point trails and like just having, somebody out there following me around. I had that, like I was starting to say a couple summers ago, I would go out, and start somewhere and my partner would drive around in the van and like support me. And it was awesome. Like, and then like we flipped and like I did that for him a couple times. And so it's just, that's what I really like. And I've also, I'm a really good volunteer at these events. Like I said, Happy Trails puts on a lot of fat asses, so I do a lot of volunteering, and I like it. I think my aid station game's pretty solid. Got some good, signature things down, and I'm a big fan of just doing the crew thing too. I was just up in Vermont crewing and talking about FOMO, like because I did Vermont last year, and this year we were just up there like supporting one of our friends doing the 100 mile, and it was great because like we're still there. It wasn't great because the pie lady was out of town, because that was like my first intro to Vermont was like the pie, but I digress. But like so that was a FOMO moment, like, oh, I was on these trails last year and now I'm just like supporting. So but it's just I like being involved even if I'm not the runner, and I always joke like, yeah, I'm a much better, on the other side of the table than like in the front of the table. And that's just kind of poking fun at myself, like I don't always, finish these like epic hard things, but I do tend to like the harder, more mountainous or tough races over. Like, I try I did drop out of the Yeti 100 because I just wasn't into it. I had paced Tom 3 years in a row before that, and I was like, it just wasn't the same being the runner. I'd much rather be the support for that particular race. So I just kind of like to pick and choose what I do, and not feel bad about it, and not feel like you're less of a person or a runner because you're not doing the hard things. And I think that's, like you were saying, that's a really important thing to remember. Like, you're doing this for you, you're not doing this for somebody else. And it's easy to get caught up in that, when you first get started on things, I think.
Yeah, I've noticed, and I'm not here to poke holes in people's Instagrams or anything like that, but I have noticed since COVID, there's been an increase in like a lot of ultra running influencers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Again, I've got no beef
Yeah.
at all with it. But
Yeah.
what I've noticed is a few of them that I've started following, they'll have like this huge buildup for this race. And they're talking all about it, and there's posts every other day about it. I'm doing this big thing. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And I kind of wonder because a lot of them will get out there and not finish the race. And there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, I've DNF'd. It's a thing. Everyone's going to go
Yeah.
through it. It's a
I'm
thing.
good at it.
But with that said, I almost wonder if, like, are we doing this now for Instagram? Are we getting out there for someone else? Like we're talking about getting out there for, is this the path that I want to follow? Or am I doing this because I want to post to Strava or I want to
Yeah.
post something to Instagram so I actually want to talk about? And again, I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but it just kind of feels like if that is what you're doing, you know, that really strong why has got to be really deep in your heart because
Yeah.
you can attest to it too. We've been in the pain cave together. I mean, climbing in Sedona Canyons up that hangover trail. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
if your why
I'm
isn't
so
there,
glad you were with me.
I know. Let's get into that in a second. But if your why's not there, it's like this sucks. I do not want to be here.
Yeah.
Like I don't care if I'm doing it for Instagram or Strava or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, where's the next one-way ticket out of this climb? And again, I'm not saying that's why they're doing it, but if that is, you got to find that really strong why because that's really what carries you through a lot of those hard moments.
Yeah. And I think it's different for different people, because I know, I have a couple people that are close to me that use social media for like motivation for themselves, and their why is strong, and like they do this, and it's powerful for them, and they do it more for themselves than for others. But then I do see other accounts like you're talking about. It's like, look what I'm doing, and isn't this great, and blah 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 blah. And like, I've definitely have shied away from like kind of doing that. I like to showcase, like if I'm volunteering, like I'll show other people's stuff, or like if I'm out on a training, like I just like to take pictures. I take pictures of my dogs and my food and my surroundings, and the weird transportation stuff every once in a while, or maps, because that's what I do. Um, but it's funny because I remember I was the last female drawn for this free entry for Eastern States in 2019, and like I wasn't even going to do it. But I was sitting in a movie with two people on both sides of me that have, like, and was like, "Oh wow, I should enter this contest." And like then I got picked. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I'm doing that." So but I showed up, but I didn't, like a few people knew, and like my crew knew. And then like I remember somebody took a picture of three of us that were there, and they're like, "You were in that race?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "You didn't say anything." I was like, "I know. I don't have to. I don't owe you to." So I'm more like fly under the radar. A lot of people didn't know that I went out to Arizona. A lot of, and, it's just like sometimes, I like to kind of like hype it up, and then other times it's just like, again, like you do what you do for you. And, if you're using that platform to like help you, I think that's perfectly fine. But if you're doing it just because it's something that looks good, or you have to promote yourself for a different purpose, or you think you should, then maybe, maybe that's not as maybe it still makes you feel good, but mm, you might have to question the why, or maybe the why isn't, it's I guess it's, the why of whoever's out there, but it's just different, and I agree, like I don't want to slam anybody. It's just a different way, and different people have ways to help motivate themselves. Yeah, and mine is just making sure I try to like do as much as I can, because I feel better when I move too. Like, I'm not getting any younger, and everybody's got their health issues, and I have some challenges. So like, it also helps to just like stay active. So yeah.
Well, if you don't mind, let's talk about, excuse me, the two races that we've done together. So the Mogollon Monster, the 105K,
Yeah.
that race, I think that was a really tough race.
I wish they
Um,
still had the 105K.
yeah,
I would do that again. My friend's going out for his third attempt at the Mogollon this year.
nice.
He's we and I really want him to finish this time, but it's like it's a bear of a race, as you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's it no.
Yeah.
Uh, Offline, if you want to, let's put if you want to put me in touch with them, I'll be out there crewing and
Sure.
tasting. Yeah, that'd be
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a lot of fun to visit with them. That so I remember we started going together like right as we got on top of the rim for the first time,
I think
and we
so.
just
Yeah.
started chugging along. Um, and I don't know about you, but that race for me, it was like the never-ending story of climbing up and down the rim. Because
Yeah.
it's like you go up,
Yeah.
go on the top, go back down,
It's
go a little
exactly
bit
what
on the
it's like
bottom,
here.
up, and then go back down.
Yep.
Well, can you share a little bit about that race? Because I've never really downloaded it with you, like that race, and also I'd like to talk about Sedona Canyons as well.
Yeah, so yeah, the Mugyeon was really cool because like I went out there because I had been out in California in July, and I did a 50K there because was just happened to be out there for work, and I was like, oh, well, what better way to do a 50K out of state with, work trip. So then, and I don't remember if I was signed up. I think I was signed up for Mugyeon before that. But I went back out to Arizona myself. Usually, like, we go together, but for some reason, I think maybe earlier that year we were out there. So I went out by myself. So, like, nobody else, no crew, just, rolling into the race myself. And, um, which, like, I don't have a problem with. It was just, it was different for that big of a race. Like, I don't think that I had really, I didn't know as much as I do now. So like, I don't think maybe I had one drop bag. I don't remember much except for I didn't really have a lot of support, and well, I had no support, but like even like I wasn't self-supporting very well.
Mm,
But it was just a grind. I remember like the big rainstorm. That was like crazy dark. I remember I wasn't up on the rim yet, but it was just like going through one of those fields where you lock the gate behind, and it was like the
mhm.
nice little Arizona Trail sign, and it was like, oh my God, like you could see the rim, and it was like all ominous. But yeah, that was a good race for me because it just like allowed me to do that. To prove to myself I could do that on my own with no support. And it was funny because I remember we came into an aid station. I think that's where you picked up your pacer, and I was like doing my thing, and you guys took off. And then I think it was the next aid station I came into, and the person was there just like, oh, so and so was just asking about you, like how far behind you were. And I guess it was the lead woman, and I was like, why does she care about that? Like, like that didn't even occur to me. Like, oh, if somebody's getting close to you, like it's just not how I think. So that was kind of funny. And then I remember that last part where you come back down the mountain before you get on the road and into Pine,
Mhm.
and that part sucked because like I just got turned around, and like I wanted to check every little corner because it was so tight. Just like, oh, is it this way? It was just like it. I don't even want to call it switchbacks, but I guess it kind of is like because switchbacks here is they're a little bit different, but that part just really kind of bothered me at the end because it's like I would think I would have finished a lot of quicker if I would have had somebody. So then I was just like, oh, maybe that would have been a nice time to like, have somebody with me. But it was a good I really liked that race. The climb and I'm a much better climber than I am a descender, so that was fun. But yeah, I really wish they had that shorter distance because I don't think I want to try the full.
It's a tough race. It really is. It took
Yeah.
everything. It took everything in me to finish that race. And to be frankly honest with you, if I didn't have the pacer I did, I don't think I would have finished because we would roll into an aid station and he's like, "You have literally
Okay.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
cannot stay 1 second past that."
Yeah.
And I have such a bad habit where I like sit down and I'm like, oh, six ramens
Yeah.
later, and I'm drinking Coke and Mountain Dew, and he's just
Yeah.
like, no, go. We have
Yeah.
to leave this second, or you will not
Yeah.
finish this race.
I have been guilty of the hanging out there like, okay, yeah, get out of there. But I will say, Sedona Canyons, I had my and I had crew there too, but like I had my nutrition down and like I was more in a role. But yeah, I've done Black Canyon twice too, and I've also done that by myself.
Wow,
So that was
I've never done
another
Black Canyon.
good.
I'd love to. I've heard it's
Yeah,
just awesome.
it's really cool. Yeah, the first year that I did it was 2019, and it was one of the years where the Agua Fria was too high.
Mm,
So we did like an out and back and a couple of loops back and forth, so I didn't get to cross the river. But this last time I did, and it was still pretty high. But it was cool, but that was another thing. Like I actually knew some other people out there because we had a when the Happy Trails people go to like out of state races, we call it the blue train because our shirts are mostly blue, like our official color, I guess. So I knew other people in there, but we weren't together. So that part was a little more like, reassuring. But yeah, both I tend to do well in desert races and I don't know, I think it's just a different I think 'cause I like being out there. I'm familiar with it, but it's not something that I do every day, so I really like enjoy and savor when I'm out there. But I like the stuff out here too. It's just different when you're talking about climbing up and down the rim, like our Massanutten Trail that's like a bunch of just ridge, go down, go back up, go down, and it's like relentless. So that was good training for for Mogollon.
moving on. So Sedona Canyons. I knew that you were going to be there, and I think we started to we connected. Did we connect before Sedona, or was it at,
Yes, it was that second aid station, the Deer, was it Deer
yes,
Pass?
Deer Pass?
So I saw you there. You had headed out. I was doing something. And then I on that road that long approach out of there into like starting to get into the canyons area. I caught up to you and I was like, it's Christian. And
Yeah.
then we were there we went and we were there for a while and rolled into Sedona together within like, a few minutes of each other. I know we spent a lot of time hanging out, fixing feet, doing stuff.
Well, that's why I was wanted to get to there.
Yeah.
Shout out to your crew because I was crewless, pacerless, and like all my foot stuff to fix my feet was on top of Hangover Trail at
Yeah, it's a
Foxborough,
long
and
way away.
I was like, do you happen to have any feet stuff? And your crew chief was like, just come sit down, and he had all this everything just boxed up, and
And it's funny because neither Todd nor Travis had been crew like that before, especially Travis was like brand new. He's an endurance horse athlete. So like, his endurance is like, his butt in the saddle for 50 miles. Um so the fact that he was like touching your feet, doing stuff, it was amazing.
yeah.
I
Thank
told
you,
him
Travis. Thank you,
he's
Travis.
hired. He's hired next time. I already told him
And
he's got
Todd
a
too. Shout out to
yeah.
Todd. He's the main. He's always there with you. I mean, I when I
He
when
Yeah.
I saw you at Coldwater when we were picking up
Yep.
our packet. I mean, he's always there. So shout out to
Yeah,
both
like
of them.
usually like for races he'll like drop me off and like come and like get me at 4 in the morning like at Black Canyon. But for this one, like he was like spot on crew and they were great. And I think they
They
had a
were
really good
awesome.
time. Like, I've known Travis and I used to do dog rescue back in the 90s when I lived in Phoenix. So like we've got history, but now he's a trail runner. He's getting more into like longer distances. And we did a training run together when I was out there in October. Was it something? Yeah, I think it was whenever I was out there before Sedona Canyons. So yeah, they were I could not have asked for a better setup. Because like two like rookies were amazing. So and it
No,
was really
they
cool
were
because
awesome.
they got to take care of you too, and that was great.
Well, that may have been their first time, but they didn't act like rookies. They
Yeah.
were spot on it. They knew they were right on it. It was funny because when we left Sedona, my I made a stupid choice. It's like I was acting like my first time. I made such a stupid choice on changing a shoe. Anyway, long story short, my feet were just getting hashed. And as we were climbing the Hangover Trail, I remember as we were climbing, I was like, this doesn't feel like, because when I did it with Cocodona, you went straight up Kasner and you got
Oh
on
yeah.
top of the Coconino Plateau. And it took you a little bit to climb up to get on top of Kasner, excuse me, the Coconino Plateau, but it was straight up.
Yeah.
And so we kept going and it was like teasing us. And I remember you and I at one point we stopped and we were trying to find the top.
Yes.
And we were so far from the top because I remember going, Julie, I think it's right
I
there
think
because I
it's
kept,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
because we
And it
kept seeing
wasn't.
a headlamp. I was like, I think that's it. It just kept going on and
I
on.
know.
And do you remember the guy, the Asian gentleman?
Yes.
I don't know if we ever caught his name. Um,
Yeah, he was a 250 runner.
yeah,
Yeah.
he had no poles. Remember that? He was just like he would climb up those rock faces, and I was like, "Oh, over here is easier." And he'd go, "Oh, okay, thank you." And he just kept climbing up that straight. I was
Yeah.
like, "This guy's amazing." It was
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm actually kind of glad we did that in the dark because I think it would have been a lot sketchier to see during the day.
I remember at one point, I don't know if I was helping you up or you were helping me up, but I remember we were standing next to each other, and one of us had just helped kind of ease the other person up on top of a little climb. And I remember turning around, and all my lights
Oh yeah.
just saw black. There was nothing. There was nothing. And I remember going, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is there's a sheer drop
There's
right
like
here."
nothing there. Yeah. I know. And my balance isn't that good. So like if I like turn my head around in those situations, I like spin out of control sometimes. So like I was being very deliberate with that. It was you were the best best guide out there and
I
I
was
felt
just
very
following
safe.
those
So
white
thank you.
dots. I was just like, from mountain biking, I know that they follow those dots, so we got to
Yeah,
follow these
exactly.
dots.
I saw that in the video, but yeah, but even so, like the dots were so random.
Yeah,
Like
and it
yeah,
was funny because it'd be like a dot here and then over here, and then it would go like over this way. You're like, ah, because it's
you
for
still
mountain
got to get
bikers.
there, and like it
Yeah,
was
because
yeah,
how they should come down. It's like, well, they should have some up ones in like a red color or something. Like this is the
something.
easiest way up.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't think they go
yeah.
up that trail. That'd be incredibly hard. But so I remember when we got on top finally, there was that little water station, and we had not teamed up, but we were going the same pace with this other
There's
group
a
of gentlemen,
yep.
and we all just sat down on rocks at that water station, and it was kind of like this collective. What the heck was
It
that?
it was kind of like a like we didn't say much, but everybody's just kind of like exhaling. And I remember I went off to try to like go to the bathroom or something, and I was just like, "Don't leave me!" I was thinking like but nobody was ready to go.
Oh
Like
no,
in two
everyone was
seconds,
like,
we all needed like
it
a
was like a
moment.
uniform. Everyone sat down at the same time, and there was this all this dazed look like, what in the heck was
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I'm just glad there was water there because like,
Yeah, I was out.
yeah, yeah. I mean that was in Vermont last year, we got to this one water stop at like mile 40 something, and it was like gross. Like it hadn't been filled again. And I was just like, so if that, I was like having flashbacks, like when we were going, I was like, there is the stop. And I'm so thankful that it was actually, potable.
Yeah.
It was good. And
And it's funny because I interviewed a guy who's done Cocodona multiple times, and he did it the year I did, and I asked him, I said, Elliot, I remember that was who it was. I was like, would you rather have the Kasner climb straight up, or would you rather have hangover? He's like, oh, Kasner any day of the week, like that, you just pop right up out of there. He's like, but if they incorporate the hangover trail from now on in the course, I won't be mad. And I've thought about that after. I'm like, that just makes it that much harder to
yeah,
do that whole course because that the Kasner climb. I remember thinking because I pacing a friend, I did it with him, and then so I kind of was inoculated to the idea when I did it myself.
yeah.
But man, that if I hit hangover trail, you're deep into that 250, and that kudos to everybody who did it last year, the
I
250ers. That is incredible.
Yeah, yeah. One of our club guys was out there and it was awesome because like I had my race was done. So we were but we I forgot my drive bag, so we had to drive back up to Flagstaff. But it was awesome because we were sitting around the corner eating lunch and I was following the live stream and I'm like, oh my God, Justin's gonna finish. So like I was able to like be like the local because he was out there just by himself. So I was able to be like his local cheerleader when he came in and I saw him and it was
Yeah,
awesome and he finished it
nice.
and he's like that was really hard. I think he took like two 7-hour naps at one time and I was just like awesome because
Wow.
he's a really fast guy. So like his time wasn't as fast as he wanted, but he finished, man. So shout out to Justin too. So
Hey, that thing is just an absolute beast,
yeah.
and I don't care if you finish it first or if you finish it last. Like that,
It's
that
it's just
is,
so fun too. And it's just like the experience. Like I'm definitely into the experience of
hmm
things and not just like going out. And I have a few people I know from here from Pennsylvania that are signed up for this year for 2026. I'm very cautiously excited about it, but gotta keep my training up, but not to take it too seriously. I think I would prefer the going straight up because that's more like we have a lot of trails here with no switchbacks. So that's definitely more in my wheelhouse, I would say. But
yeah.
yeah,
And then doing it at night, it's a different animal because you when you
yeah,
can't see the top, it just feels like the never-ending story. Like it just
yeah,
keeps going on and on and
yeah,
on. Whereas in the day, you're like, oh, I see it. I can see it now at this
yeah.
angle. Like, okay, I'm almost there.
And sometimes I do like not being able to see it in the dark, even though it feels like it's going on long. Sometimes, every once in a while, not all the time, you do like, oh, it's right here. And
Yeah.
like that's a nice surprise. But yeah, that was not that.
Well, I think to round out the Sedona Canyon story, we got to Foxborough together, and I just said I got to go see the medic, and for my feet and idiot drop bag mistakes. There's no need to hash that out. This is your podcast because I've already talked about it. But tons of mistakes were made. As my first unassisted ultra, like with no crew, no pacers, so I made a lot of mistakes. But I remember laying down, and you were so kind. You popped your head in. And you're like, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." She fixed my feet. I'm good to go. And I was like, "I'm just gonna rest here for a minute." Like, well, I'm gonna get going. Do you want me to wait? And I was like, no, because I don't know how long I'm gonna rest here.
I probably should have waited for you though,
And you were so
because I
nice.
probably
You were
would have,
so nice.
if I would have stuck with you, I probably wouldn't have dropped out.
No, no,
Yeah.
no.
I
And
just, oh man. Yeah, that was rough. Like I lost my voice and my throat was like on fire and I couldn't talk. And then I I couldn't get enough air.
mm,
It was just bad. And I was actually talking to Justin about that and he like they had to give him breathing treatments at some point. I don't know if it was up on Mingus or something, but so it made me feel a little bit less wussy that like it wasn't just me that was having problems, but
no,
it's
I've heard
it's
that from
still
plenty of
like
people. I've heard that from
yeah.
plenty of people. And I get the people in the kind of the little crew that I was running with at the time. They called it the Cocodona cough,
Mm,
where it's like, cause all that fine dust. You know, at night
yeah.
you can see it. It's all this
Oh
fine
yeah.
dust, and you're just breathing that in constantly the whole time. And it's just, you're
Yeah.
just
You blow
constantly.
your nose and it's all gross.
Well,
Yeah.
so I never ever get bloody noses ever. Nona, my running down my face going into Fort Tuthill, and I was like trying to clean myself up before I got to there because the medic would be like, what's wrong with you? You can't go back out there. So I like baby wipes and I'm trying to clean my face. And Sedona Canyons, same thing. I got out of it was just before Tuthill. It was Kelly Canyon. I started leaving Kelly Canyon, and I felt like I needed to blow my nose, and so I kind of just tried to blow my nose, and blood just
Yeah.
in my Patagonia uh, sun shirt. It's just got blood stains all up and down the sleeves because I'm doing this number. And I finally got some paper towels, and
Just
I,
stuck
I,
them up there.
I probably scared these two poor girls just to death because I came around the corner and I got these two things in my nose, and they
Little
turned,
horns.
yeah, and it was at night, so they turn around and they look at me with the light on. They're like, "Oh," and I was like, "I know, like I've been having a bloody nose." They're like, "Oh, are you okay?" But I probably scared them half to death. Like, what is this creature
That's
coming
not
out of the
great.
corner? And
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, they were having some type of personal conversation because when I came up to them, they said, "Oh, did you hear any of what we were just talking about?" And I was like, "Something about a bartender." They're like, "Okay, good." I was like, "I promise I didn't hear
Yeah,
anything
I
that
heard
wasn't
everything.
safe." Yeah, I should have said that. Oh, that's a crazy story, you know.
I can't believe that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't believe he would say that to you, whatever. But
You're
that
not
was
good.
funny though.
He's not good enough for you. Yeah.
Yeah, just move on, move on. So anyway, but at what point in Sedona Canyons did you finally call it? At what aid station?
Pacer swap area.
Yeah,
So,
but certainly
um
that's a tough section because
that section sucked. I will
that
just
that
say.
was a tough section.
I did not enjoy that because
Mm,
it was Todd was my pacer, and then Travis is going to swap out at the pacer stop, and he's like, "Oh, he looked so cute. I had got him a little pacer shirt, and he had his MP3 player queued up." It's just like I felt that's the thing. Like when I do drop and I have crew, I just feel like I wasted everybody's time. And like it's not, that's a whole nother, I'm not going to get too much into it, but like, you know, when you sign up for these things, you have the intentions of finishing. And when you have crew, they're signed up to help you finish or support you
right.
in whatever way you need. So like you can't obviously like, I feel guilty about everything. So, I'm going to feel bad, but like at the end of the day, it's like, you know, yes, people, it's expected. Like I've been, not pacing people because they drop or whatever. But so yeah, it was there. And but that section, leaving, was it Munns, the one before that? I think it was. So it was just like, but when we got to that part, it was just open. It was just like, again, it was like just windy trails for no good reason. And I think that was
Yeah, they
like
would
the
wind you
new
up this
section.
and then
And
down and through,
yeah,
and you're like,
and
where are we going?
it's very similar to like how a lot of new mountain bike trails are built out here. So and it looked similar, but like, I understand you want to get as many miles into a parcel as you can, but like that just that was not fun. And it was just like my mind was going down because I was trying to breathe, and it was just I just was m- making myself angry for no reason. And like Todd's being like really good and supportive, and I'm just like it sucks, and just like purposely slowing down and then speeding up because I'm angry, and just like, yeah, it just wasn't enjoyable. So then when
It
I
was a
got
tough
to that
section.
pacer thing, I was feeling like crap, and I was just like, and Travis was like, you should just lay down. And yeah, I should have, like, every time like I have a less than desirable result, like at least I've learned a lot of good stuff, and I was able to apply things from like my last, I don't even want to say failure, but my last, shortcoming or whatever, for this one. So, I try to take the positives out of those situations. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, I'm done.
Well,
And
but the other thing to note in that section they really could have had a water drop at the pacer spot
Oh, 100%. Like I was
because
trying, I put that in the survey because 17, 18 miles is a really long, and it's a pretty easy thing to do. So yeah, that would be my recommendation for that because it's 11 to get there. And that was a hard 11, just it was a mentally hard 11 for me. And it was the trail wasn't that hard. It was just annoying. It just
yeah,
pissed me off.
it was one of those trails that you're like you said, they're trying to pack as many miles as they can into
Yeah.
in a certain
It just
section.
I just didn't like it. And I was like, people were like, I was coming up to people or people would pass me. I'm just like, "Ah, I can't even talk. And they're like, what the hell? What's wrong with it? And eh, I was over it by then.
Well, I tell you, I hit that section and I was thinking about you during that section because I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm gonna ever catch her again. But when I hit that
Oh, you
pacer
would have.
section, when I hit that pacer section spot, excuse me, I was almost out of water. So from that point to Kelly Canyon, I was almost out, and I was totally rationing
That's,
at that point, and I was like,
yeah.
I got to get there. And by the time I got to Kelly Canyon, the sun was starting to set, so that was nice. But I'm now having to spend extra time at Kelly Canyon because I'm like,
Yeah.
I know my body well enough. I'm like, I have to sit here for a while, get rehydrated, get
Oh, yeah.
reacclimated. There's no way I'm going to just blow through this because I haven't had a ton of water for a long time.
No, you got to
That's a
crank
tough
back up.
section.
Yeah. Well, I hope they
Well,
put one in there.
yeah, it would be nice for sure. So
Yeah.
did I catch that earlier in the conversation? You are thinking about doing Sedona Canyons again?
Oh, I signed up already.
Yeah, I love it. I love
Well,
it.
it got because it was starting because like again like going back to like all the hype like that thing sell like so it didn't sell out very quickly this year because like I only signed up in January I think. This year it was like in a couple days because
Hmm.
Cocodona always sells out, but like Sedona Canyons did it last year, and now it's like I'm glad that I signed up. And yeah, so I know
Awesome.
three people. Yeah, so are you in, I didn't think I saw your
No,
name
not
on
on
there.
Sedona Canyons. I decided to do something that really terrifies me because of the time cutoffs. I'm doing the Bradshaw Brute. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm very nervous. I'm nervous enough that I hired a coach because I'm
That's
like
fantastic.
I've got to
That
dial
looks
in on this
brutal.
one. Oh, it's gonna be it's because I did Mogollon, I did it in 37 hours,
Yeah,
and this one has 6,000 more feet of climb, and there's no pacers, no crew,
right.
and
It's
and
yeah.
that first section of Cocodona is it'll just it just kicks you in the mouth. It's so long.
I know I want to do Crown King Scramble one of these days just to like
Me
do
too.
that.
I need to get out there and do that one. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
I've always
One
wanted
of
to do
these
that one.
years.
Well, I'm excited for you, Charlene, and I know you don't feel that way, but I look up to you in it. I look up to you in that you don't give up. You didn't finish Sedona Canyons. It doesn't bother you. You go back and you're gonna do it again. You talked about how you fell short or you didn't finish these races. I can just tell you from a genuine place, I really look up to you for that because I don't know if I would have that stamina to be like, man, I didn't get it and I'm
Yeah.
done. So that's a very you have a very big determination that within yourself, and that's so awesome, so amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I think I mean I if I'm and this is like it's really hard because like I think if I'm being honest, I think I have the ability to finish these things. But saying that makes me feel like why should you think that? Why do you think you can do that? So that's when the whole like, the self-doubt and those kind of negative things that don't do any self do yourself any favors. That was for a long time, and I'm trying not to think about it like that because like yeah, I'm not very fast anymore, but I can still go. But my biggest problem is here. Like it's quieting all that. And if I stop and think about things in real time and how to problem solve, like I know how to do it. if I execute it, I'm okay. If I don't execute it or refuse to, like in Sedona Canyons, like yeah, like I don't need a voice to keep going. Like yeah, breathing helps, so like that would be good, but like it's there's always going to be excuses, and sometimes sometimes like you do have to pull the plug, but I'm getting better about like sussing them out, but it does, it kind of wears on me to be probably one of my only friends who doesn't have like one of these like legit buckles, and I don't even call it legit, but like I've but I've done a lot of other cool stuff. So I just want to be happy with what I do and the lessons I learn and not necessarily feel that I'm less than because I don't have something. And it's taken a really long time, in my almost 54 years.
Well,
Yeah, but thank you
here's.
because I also you're an inspiration to me too
Oh,
because
you're too kind.
you are persevere, and the fact that like I value this connection that we have because it's genuine, because it's like if you don't talk to somebody like and again I'm gonna like East Coast West Coast it, but like people get like, oh, you talk to me, yeah. Like but like we can like not see each other for like 6 years and just be like, hey, what's going on, and like just like catch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I agree with you. And it's funny, I have these trail friends that I don't see in 6 years or I don't ever see. And then they're like, hey, will you pace me at this race? Absolutely. It's like we've never gone to dinner. We've never like hung out outside of the trail. Yeah. Well, if I wasn't doing Bradshaw, I would definitely pace with you for sure. But I did want to say this. We are right now here. We are going to have the Charlene finish party second episode. We're going to schedule it for after Sedona Canyons, and we are going to have a celebration episode. And you have to wear your buckle. I love it. Well, I'm always rooting for you, and when you're at these races and at Sedona Canyons, I was serious. When I was coming up to that pacer spot, I was like, I wonder if I'm going to see her again. I really want to see Charlene again because I was really I'm always rooting for you, but I was just rooting for you because I knew that you were struggling too, and so I know you've got it. I know you've got it this time. You're going to do it. Hell or high water. That's going to be Charlene's tagline. Hell or high water is this next race. Obviously, if you fracture your leg, like please stop. But yeah, you're gonna get it done. Knock on wood. I think I'm right there with you. Well, I know it's getting late for you. This has been so fun to catch up and visit, and I learned to, yeah. You know how this is so uncomfortable for me. I've gotten more comfortable doing this, but that was one of the hardest things. One of the hardest things of doing this was like being in front of the camera, taking pictures on Instagram as I just started to kind of make fun of, knock influencers for doing that. It was hard for me to start taking pictures and, little videos but oh, those, I have so much fun with those memes, and I just love to put them out there because I think they're funny. Not that I sit and laugh at myself, but I'm like, oh, that's a good one. And I just think they're funny and I love putting them out there. And people are so kind on Instagram. They've sent me some of the nicest messages about keep it coming. We love this stuff. So I I just enjoy doing it. Oh yeah. You gotta look, you gotta kind of poke fun at yourself. That's the thing, Charlie. Most of those memes are about me. Like 99% of the it's about me. Well, listen, again, I so appreciate you doing this, and I'm just so grateful for our friendship. One of the things I do with my guests is oh, thank you. I do send my guests a gift from Death March Running Company just as a way to say thank you. So offline, I'll get your information. Please don't send it out on the on the interwebs, but I'll get you a good mailing address from you offline, and I'll get that sent out. But again, thank you so much for doing this. And I like to give my guests another chance just to say something to sign off or a shout out to somebody. Shout out to Todd and Travis, but anyone else or anything you want to just say to close it out. Have it, and John and I were talking about that even after we stopped the recording. We were chatting about it. I just, like I told him, I just have to set some credit card points aside and say, I'm using these. I'm going to do a race out there. I lived in Virginia for a few years and years ago, 20 something years ago. And I just have to get out there and do it. I love the East Coast. It's so beautiful. It's funny to me when people come out here and they're like, Arizona's gorgeous. I think so, but it's because I've lived here forever. But have you seen where you came from? I mean, it's beautiful. There's trees everywhere. It's green and water everywhere. So I do, Charlene. I need to. I told John, and I know you guys know each other. I told him, I was like, if I go out there, I'm gonna look you up and we'll hit something together. Well, I am doing the Rocky half marathon in Philadelphia in November. Really? Yeah. Oh, interesting. No, it's November 8th. I know I'm such a child of the 80s. I'm just any eight like Rocky and Rambo, all the Goonies and yeah, of course. It's like I show my kids some of these movies and they're like, "Dad, this is weird." I'm like, "It's not weird. This is the greatest show that's ever been made." Wow. Oh, I love it. Oh, I want to do it for sure. I just have to do it. I just have to, and maybe I'll ping you and John offline and find something that works where we can all do it together. That would be so fun. I just would love to get out back east and hang out with you guys. And oh, this guy is all he's always running. I mean, he's incredible. So you guys are yeah yeah. Oh, he was real fun to visit with. Yeah, I was real grateful that he was gracious enough to jump on and I get to know each other a little bit more. Charlene, this has been so much fun. I know you've had a long day today, so because you're East Coast, so I'll let you go, but this isn't goodbye because we're gonna see each other again. So let's stay in touch and we'll connect offline. Thanks, Charlene.